Have you ever had an animal do something so smart that it actually made you stop and think, wait, are they just as intelligent as us? Well, today, I've got 5 mind-blowing stories about crows. Yeah, those birds most people don't think twice about. That might just change the way you see animals forever. These birds don't just fly around looking for food. Some of them have formed friendships with humans, played games, figured out puzzles, and even sat down for a cup of coffee. No joke. Stick around because these stories are wild. And by the end of this video, you might just start looking at crows, and maybe all animals a little differently. So, picture this. You're walking outside, and you hear this tiny, desperate sound coming from the grass. You look down, and there's this tiny baby crow, all alone, crying out for help. That's exactly what happened to Joanna, a young woman who had no idea that stopping to help this little bird would change her life. She named the crow Pepe, not realizing at the time that Pepe wasn't just any bird. He was about to become part of the family. Now, Joanna also had a dog, a big friendly German shepherd named Zena. And at first it seemed like just a normal rescue situation. She nursed Pepe back to health, made sure he had a safe space to rest, and gave him plenty of food. But here's where things got weird. Pepe didn't just recover, he started watching Zena. And I don't mean just looking at her, I mean really studying her, like he was trying to learn something. Then one day, Joanna noticed Pepe running, not flying, across the yard, trying to chase a ball, just like Zena. At first, she thought it was a fluke, but then he started following Zena everywhere. When Zena lay down, Pepe would sit next to her. When Zena barked at strangers, Pepe would caw in the same direction, like he was backing her up. And the craziest part, when Joanna called Zena, Pepe started responding too. He acted just like a dog. But here's the question. Did Pepe think he was a dog? Or did he just love his friend so much that he wanted to be like her? Either way, even when Pepe learned to fly and could have left any time, he never really left. He still comes back to Joanna's house every single day, like he's checking in on his family. Imagine that, having a crow who treats you like part of its pack. Wild, right? Okay, so this next story is about a man who, somehow, made a crow his coffee buddy. It all started when he found a little crow at the school where he teaches. Some of his students had come across the chick, abandoned and helpless. Not wanting to leave it there, he took it home, named it Klaus, and helped it recover. At first, it was just a rescue situation, but then something unexpected happened. Klaus didn't just fly off and forget about him. Every single morning, Klaus came back, and not just to visit, he wanted to hang out. The man noticed that Klaus was watching him very closely, especially when he had his morning coffee. Every time he sat down in the garden, Klaus would land nearby waiting. One morning, just out of curiosity, he poured a tiny bit of decaf coffee into a shallow dish. To his surprise, Klaus drank it. And the next morning, Klaus showed up expecting it. So now, every morning, there's this man and his crow, just casually having coffee together like old friends. Now, I know what you're thinking. Should a crow be drinking coffee? Probably not. But does this make Klaus one of the coolest birds on the planet? Absolutely. But it makes you wonder, was Klaus really just there for the coffee, or was he just attached to the man who saved him? Alright, so this next one, it's just funny. Tuck was an African-pied crow rescued from a pet shop. He grew up around humans, so he was used to people. But here's the thing about Tuck, he wasn't just comfortable around humans, he loved them, especially the ladies. Tuck had this weird ability, he could mimic words really well, and he figured out very quickly that people would talk to him more if he spoke back. Even crazier, he knew exactly which objects belonged to him. If someone tried to take something he considered his, he'd make a fuss. But back to his favorite thing, women. Every time a female visitor came by the sanctuary, Tuck would puff up, spread his wings a little, and try to get as close as possible. It was like he knew how to turn on the charm. Now, is it just instinct? Or did Tuck somehow realize that flirting gets him more attention? Now, this one gets emotional. Loki was a crow who lost his owner. And when I say lost, I mean his owner died. For weeks, Loki was completely alone. Nobody took care of him. Nobody talked to him. And for a bird that had only known love and attention, that was brutal. By the time Elliot, his new owner, adopted him, Loki was different. He was quiet. He didn't trust anyone. He barely ate. Elliot spent years trying to bring Loki back to life, emotionally at least. And after a lot of patience, Loki started acting like himself again. But here's the most fascinating part. Loki wasn't just any bird. He loved games. He loved stealing things, then trading them for something better. He'd pick up random objects, coins, bottle caps, keys, and wait until Elliot offered something he wanted more. And if Elliot didn't, Loki would just take whatever he wanted. Smart little guy. But after all that trauma, Loki finally had a friend again. Last but not least, let's talk about Crary, the white raven who might just be too smart. Alexandra started setting up puzzles for Crary, little challenges to see how smart he really was, and Crary blew her mind every single time. He solved puzzles almost instantly. He figured out how to open latches, move objects around, and even plan ahead. And the craziest part, he trusted Alexandra. When he got nervous, she wouldn't look at him, because she realized that letting him feel like he wasn't being watched helped him calm down. That level of trust between a human and a wild bird, that's something special. So what do these stories tell us? Animals, especially crows, are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. They remember faces, build relationships, and even form attachments just like we do. So next time you see a crow watching you, maybe, just maybe, they're smarter than you think. If you liked these stories, hit that like button. And if you've ever had an animal do something that blew your mind, drop your story in the comments. I'd love to hear it.